Bank.
All right, welcome to Earth2ComicCast, where a world where superheroes exist and comic book talk is the norm. Earth 2 is, if you're the first time you're joining us, we kind of try to hit geek news and content. Probably our most world famous show is Lucas and Mo versus the World, where they talk about, well, everything going on in geek culture.
Everything.
Right now, Mo is busy arguing with a bank, and Anthony is here. He is making dinner, so
Yes.
I might be monologuing a bit. I don't know. We'll see how this goes.
And if y'all great, I'll give y'all some Snapchats. My Snapchat, y'all can look at me while I cook my food. If you know Lucas, he gets mad because he be like, "Where's my plate?" And I be like, "I don't got a plate for you, man. I don't know what to tell you."
Is it so? You guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
No, we can't hear you.
Was it?
We can hear the bank too. It's great.
Yeah, don't put
out
no information.
She's on a live podcast.
Yeah.
You should ask her what she thinks about Infinity War.
Don't put your social security number out there, Mo.
We might have some other people joining later. I don't really know. It was kind of a weird. Yesterday, everybody was like, "I'm all in," and then today, I don't know where they all went, but it's fine. It's fine. I see how it is. So I just want to dive right into Infinity War, but actually, before we talk about the movie itself, I thought it'd be good because this isn't just a celebration of the amazing, in my opinion, though Mo's going to disagree, movie Infinity War. I noticed when they ran that Marvel credit, they did a thing with the number 10, and they're really trying to celebrate year 10 of the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought maybe we first step back and talk about that and what the MCU has really done to the movie industry, to the comic books industry, to pop culture.
Did you hear the bit of trivia on the 10, on the actual 10 logo they used? Did you hear that?
No. What's the trivia?
So Kevin Feige was doing an interview, and he was like, "Yeah, we're trying to figure out something to do to celebrate the 10 years of doing Marvel, and we couldn't come up with this logo, so then we just stole it from Star Wars." And I was like, and then he chuckled with a little gleam in his eye, and I was like, "Oh." Because you know what? I bet you somebody came to Kevin Feige and is like, "Well, Marvel getting that Star Wars, so this Marvel stuff gonna take a back seat." And he's like,
I'm gonna show them. So let me ask you this: before Infinity War, how were you feeling about the MCU? Like Black Panther ends. How are you feeling generally about overall MCU and kind of its place?
I'm very optimistic. Like I said a bunch, like this is just we've gotten a crossover event starting since the Incredible Hulk and Iron Man, right? It came out those years. And they've given us the experience of reading comics, so you can't put a whole story arc. Like you couldn't put this whole story arc in one movie and get the same effect, right?
Right.
And you can't put Age of Apocalypse, that whole massive story, in the 1 2-hour movie. Like it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
What they've really done is give us this Infinity War story and all these other stories off every single issue. We get 3 issues a year pretty much. And
I think that's really interesting. I think you've really nailed it. I think it does actually almost feel like somebody who's reading a comic book.
Yeah, and like they missed, and that's the point where they can't really. That's one of the things they can't really translate. That's why something like Daredevil does a lot better than it did on a movie. You know what I mean? Because when you read stuff like the Dark Phoenix saga, the Dark Phoenix isn't just Jean Grey dies, Jean Grey resurrected, Jean Grey wants to destroy stuff. You know what I mean? It's some build up, some character changes, how it affects this new dynamic, some other hurdles, and then it gets to that end point. If you just rush to the end, it'd be like if you put all the original Star Wars in the one movie.
Right.
It doesn't get the same effect. So
there's also an interesting thing where with comics, especially with the comics, we don't know what's going to happen. So as you were reading the Dark Phoenix saga, you didn't really know where it was going. So it's kind of interesting to relive through that stuff, but with some sense of where things are going with the MCU, and then also watching other people who don't.
Right, because they're not dumbing down a lot of stuff. They're not dumbing down certain things for the audience. They keep the movies continuing the last chapter you stopped here, and the next chapter you're here, but you get what happened in between. Like you get that Vision and Scarlet Witch, start spoilers, whatever, have a relationship. They didn't need to show us the courtship. They didn't need to show us the thing. We got a hint of it in Civil War, and then it moved forward. We got a hint of it in Age of Ultron. They just moved forward. We didn't need to see. It'd been nice. We didn't need to see all of Hawk's Battle World stuff going on, but we got the gist of it. Or Captain America reallocating into society.
Yeah, I think sometimes that's what they've been doing too, is sneaking in some of those other sideline stories into other movies that aren't about those characters, right?
Mm-hmm. They finished Iron Man's story in other people's movies.
Yeah, they sure did. Yeah, absolutely. So think back to like the way comic book movies and comic books and everything was before Iron Man and the way things are now. What are kind of the highlights, I guess you could say, of that changeover? Like what was it like for you, Anthony, as like a comic book / movie fan pre-Iron Man versus now? How have things changed?
So before Iron Man, I would say, and even in that it was a transitional period, right?
There were still comic book movies. There were still X-Men, the Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire hit and stuff.
Yeah, but it was dumbed down for the mass. It was stepped on for the mass audiences, right? And I love me some Sam Raimi Spider-Man. I'm not knocking it, but they dumbed down a lot of stuff, and we accepted a lot of stuff. Like we accepted X-Men because we thought that was the best we were going to get. Right. We accepted these things, these movies, and we were like, oh crap! I mean, we're not gonna get our full comic book experience. Like they're just not gonna do it. So we're not gonna get colorful costumes. We're gonna put them in black leather. Like, I was just accepted. We're not gonna get the broader world where they're all connected. We're just gonna accept it. Like all right, they're gonna step on this character and give us the bare minimum baby formula stuff so the regular public can ingest it. I heard an interesting point of view today on Double Toasted, where he was like, Marvel changed the general media to comic book geeks. And they thought about that, and it's like, he's right. Because you started off with Iron Man. Like, all right, we're not going to go too crazy with you. We understand technology. Right. This is a battle suit. We're going to bring it in there. And now, by the time that you watch Infinity War,
there's all kinds of crazy powers. Yeah.
You know the lore. You know who's doing what. You know whose relationship to who. You know this power is magic. This is tech. They assimilated mass culture.
Yeah, there's kind of an interesting thing because there's kind of been this rise of geek culture as pop culture. And it's interesting to think about the ways in which Marvel latched onto that, but also the ways in which Marvel drove that kind of changeover.
Because you could be an X-Men fan and not be, I'm not a geek. I just like X-Men movies or Blade movie. You're not that.
Yeah.
This went, look, we're going to take you to some weird places, but we're going to ease you in first. To the fact where you can look, it's like, oh, no, that's the astral plane. Like, how do you know?
Like if you think about even the jump to Asgard in the very first Thor movie, like that felt like I was worried about the first Thor movie because I was like, this is going to get really weird. And there hasn't been anything that weird yet in this universe, right?
Right. Because it's all trying to be grounded and based and stuff.
Yeah.
In technology or
Thor movie as science and technology as opposed to magic and mysticism and mystics as what it is. But you know what? That's not the question here. And this is Anthony's question, so I'm a butt back out.
No. It was a general question.
No, it was just a general idea that I was worried when the first Thor movie launched if the people who had liked the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies up to that point were ready for the jump that was going to be required to get into Thor. Thor was a pretty big jump.
I'm gonna put myself on mute. Go back cooking my food. Mo, go ahead, take it.
So I think the thing about the first Thor movie wasn't so much as I think that was when Marvel made Iron Man, and Iron Man connected with everyone. Thor, I believe in my heart, was made for the fans, and that was more of a fan reaction. And we'll see. And then once you had Chris Hemsworth, take his shirt off in that one scene, then you got people.
Then you got happy.
Then you got
no. Marvel used that Tyler Perry formula. You want to get the woman in there? You show them abs. like they complain about your hands.
And you have Kenneth Branagh direct it.
Yeah, who Henry V, one of my favorite adaptations of Henry V was. I actually watched all of Henry V that last week. The Band of Brothers speech.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. I mean, if you're not going
No.
to talk more, I'm going to keep talking.
Or no, some came up. So yeah, but no. And so my thought process for Thor was it was more so for the fans, and it was more so, and then you had Chris Hemsworth, of course, who helps, of course, gets the get the women in there, and that's how we got what we got. We got a mix of, and then like Anthony said earlier, where we got people who were just regular media becoming comic book fans again, because you had Superman and Batman up to that point, but they hadn't done what Marvel was doing. If we're being real, Marvel gave you comic books on screen.
Right.
Robert Downey Jr. For everything Robert Downey Jr. is or was up to the MCU, he literally is Iron Man. Like it'll be a sad day when he hangs it up, but he is Iron Man. So much so that they changed Iron Man in the comic books and Iron Man in the shows to match Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, I disagree with what they did the comic books with Iron Man based on the movies. I get it, but
here's my last question for you guys on the last 10 years of MCU. What for you personally is your highlight of the last 10 years of the MCU? What's like the moment that you just loved that was delivered to you through these movies in the last 10 years? Not counting Infinity War.
Spin around. That spin around in the Avengers. That whole when they all come together, Thor picks up his hammer, twirls it around, and you see Hawkeye. That moment is still the best moment for me in the MCU in the last 10. It's in the last 6 years or 10 in the whole entirety of the MCU. That's the best moment for me.
It's a good moment.
Avengers is a really good one. I gotta say, to me, one of the best.
Go ahead, say Black Panther.
I know. I can't say three. Like I want to say three because there's three different things where they just kind of ease you in a little bit more, and then just jumped right.
Mm-hmm.
I think the airport scene was one of the ones where they just showed that. Look, all these characters. Civil War was kind of like a test for going forward, right? We can put all these characters in, and because the audience knows them, we don't have to spend time explaining them. You know what I mean? Like we know these characters, and even we can do it so well. We're going to introduce you to two new characters into our universe. Here's Black Panther. You don't even know him. Here's Spider-Man. You know him, but we're going to explain him again. That whole airport scene was such a great moment because we love that as fans. We love that as comic book fans, and seeing your heroes clash against each other and who can beat who. I wish they would do it with the villains so we could have villains teams go and be like, oh man, I wish they had the Black Order like in other movies. So when they showed up here, it was like, I know what they can do. Let's see what happens.
Sorry.
I'm sorry?
I said the Henchmen, but you were speaking.
Yeah. So I think that was one of it. And even though I'm a little cheat a little bit, even though I don't necessarily think the movies as great as everybody else, I mean, like as the general mass does, the moment when Doctor Strange went through different parallel realities and everything else, because once you sold Doctor Strange to the regular public, anything is possible. You can say that with Guardians too, but once you sold the public on magic and called it straight magic, they hedged their bets a little bit, but they called it magic. Once you did that, you let me know that we can see anything now. You could put anything that I've seen in a comic book, no matter how weird it gets, into these pages. I mean, onto these screens, and that's a big moment for how I look at the audience, and for them to go. Like we're used to that stuff. We're used to that otherworldly stuff.
Right.
But to see people in theaters and fans, people I know that were into it, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, where was he? What was all that other stuff?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's Doctor Strange for you." You know what I mean? Like that was an amazing moment.
I definitely agree. Definitely agree. I think for me, just a couple of things, but I think for me, actually, it goes all the way back to the first Iron Man movie, and the reason why is because I had to like twist a bunch of people's arms just to go see that movie with me, including my now wife. I just had to work hard to convince a whole bunch of people to go see that movie. And I took like maybe 10 people to go see that movie. And pre-Iron Man movie, like as Anthony knows, like Iron Man and Hulk were like my two favorite characters. So the fact they were even making an Iron Man movie, it's insane to think this, but the fact they were even making an Iron Man movie at that time.
And he's not lying, people. When he left Maryland, I made him a care package of just Hawk and Iron Man comics that I thought he would love. Like I took them out of my personal collection. I was talking about my personal collection. I was like,
can I say something really quick? I promise.
I love them, but Patrick loves these characters. Here you go, Patrick. Here you go.
Go ahead, Mo.
I don't know if he remembers that, but
after everything is said and done, who is the three standing on this podcast right now? That's all I want to say.
Are we saying we're Avengers? Are you saying we're the Avengers?
No, literally we are, because we come from
who's Cap, Iron Man, and Thor? Am I Thor? Because
I'm definitely Cap. I'm definitely Cap because no, Patrick has to be Cap.
I could be Iron Man or Doctor Strange or somewhere
because you're the best of us. I am Iron Man because but you're definitely Thor.
I'll be I don't know. I'll be happy to be, I don't know, Falcon or something. That's fine with me. I'm
probably Rocket.
You are Rocket. You are Rocket. Oh my gosh. You can put me low on the totem pole. I don't care. But
I'm just happy doing a cast with you guys. That's it. I'm just happy doing a cast with you guys because
we haven't done it in a while since Discovery, basically, or Rebels, maybe.
I know. I'm happy I'm doing this while drinking peach wine.
All right. So, anyways, point being, I love Iron Man. At that time, just Iron Man getting a movie seemed insane. I dragged all these people who could care less about comics.
Because he was a C-list character. Maybe
he was a C-list character. And at the end of that movie, all of my friends were like, I love Iron Man. Iron Man is so cool. That was such a cool movie. I really like this Iron Man guy. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was so excited. So that moment,
and it brought Robert Downey Jr. back to life.
I will forever disagree that Iron Man is a C-list character because I watched the Fox Iron Man TV shows. I watched the Fox.
We just talked about that though. It came on Sunday morning.
It came on Sunday. With the bad cartoons.
I would go late to church just to watch
that first season of Iron Man and Fantastic Four sucked. It sucked so bad. It sucked so bad that they redid it. So we got that cool intro with the I am. But by the time they did it, they were already canceled. So we got one good season.
It doesn't matter. I watched mad reruns of it, and then remember the movie
Iron Man. All right. We got to move on because this isn't about MCU. It's not about the MCU. It's about Infinity War. So,
what is it good for? Box office sales.
That was a good launch. That was a good launch into it. Half hour in, and all we've covered is the MCU. But now, Infinity War has finally dropped in movie theaters. It dropped like a bomb, and not in a bad way. So here's my question. Infinity War versus Infinity Gauntlet, the original comic book that this is based on. You had not yet seen the movie, okay? What were you expecting walking into the theater? How was that comic book kind of weighing or like over your head as you walked into the theater? What were the moments from that comic that were like, they better put this in the movie or I'm going to be upset? And did they execute on those things or not?
So for me, the minute we saw Thanos at the end of Avengers, I was like, oh, Hawk's humbling moment's going to go when he gets beat up by Thanos. Like Thanos' intro is going to beat up Hawk. I said that all the way back then because they were making it so Hawk was him and Odin are the outliers of power in the MCU for a long time for these movies. Right. And I was like, they're gonna, and they haven't given Hawk his full power. And I was like, oh, there's, if he gets his power up, it's not gonna be till after Thanos comes. Right. And because there's a famous scene where he's pimp slapping Hawk and Drax. And Thanos, while he says he avoids physical conflict with the Hawk, is probably the one villain Hawk hasn't really had a defining victory over, I would say, in the comics that I can think of. Yeah. But yeah, I thought that was gonna be there. And then of course, to me, it was everybody else is whooped. People on a more powerful scale than Steve Rogers are down for the count, are just gone. And he walks up to Thanos and squares off with them and gives him that that Captain America flavor and that war of ideology. And I was like, that's what I need.
Yeah.
That was
you haven't won yet is I think what he says, or something along those lines of like, you haven't won yet. I'm still here. There's still one left.
And it's something that I could picture this Captain America doing, where Iron Man's down, Hulk's down, everybody up, Thor's gone, and then Steve Rogers gets up, shield's busted, he walks up to Thanos in that Steve Rogers way, like, you know, I don't kneel, like, come on, and I wanted that in this movie. That's what I wanted.
How about you, Mo? What were your how was the comic book kind of weighing over the movie itself for you? And were there some things that like you were like, they better put this in the movie, or I want to have this kind of feel that I had in this moment from the comic book?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question, Patrick?
Oh, just how did the comic book, before you saw this movie, how was the comic book kind of shadowing this movie for you?
Okay, so I'll confess, it's two things. I read the comic book a while ago.
Okay.
And I was like in love with
it. I think Mo's still talking to his mic.
I think so.
All right. Well, for me, I just want to say, like, for me, the comic book is defining. It's probably the most, if you ask me what was the most defining comic book all my life, in a way, there's a few, but Infinity Gauntlet is key, because before Infinity Gauntlet, I was just a guy who like watched the Spider-Man cartoons, Super Friends. I loved the Superman movies, but I didn't like buy Superman comics or anything. Like, I was like every other kid usually who kind of is aware of these characters and likes them, but I wasn't like a comic book fan, right? And then my friend Wesley, who Anthony actually knows, picked up Infinity Gauntlet. And I read like the first issue at his house, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, what is this?" And I immediately went to like Jeppy's up by Security Mall, and like picked up like the next issue, and like that was the beginning for me. I remember I picked up also a comic book that had Hawk and Wolverine together, and another comic book that had Iron Man. And so you like ask, why is Hawk and Iron Man Patrick's favorite? Like, those are the first comic books I'm picking up, is Infinity Gauntlet, Hawk with Wolverine, and which I don't know, I'm not a big Wolverine fan, but I love the Hawk in that, and then Iron Man. And so those just kind of became my characters, and that was the beginning for me with comic books. So Infinity Gauntlet was key. I agree. Interestingly enough, I said this whole time, that moment must happen. Cap must stand up to Thanos. And it didn't exactly happen in this movie. And yet
I'm a little disappointed.
I can't figure that out. I'm not as disappointed as I expected. The other moment, though, that I needed was Hawk falling through the window onto Doctor Strange's, like crashing through the building. And that happened. They did that moment. So in that way, I was really excited.
So you expected them to switch out Silver Surfer for Hawk?
It's Silver Surfer. That's right, it's Silver Surfer. So yeah, I did expect them to either switch out Hawk or Drax. I thought one of those two was going to drop on Doctor Strange's doorstep, basically.
That makes sense. I was disappointed because it wasn't in the comics. It wasn't a contest of strength that when Captain America stood up. You know what I mean? It wasn't a.
No, not at all. Cap was going down.
Right. It was a power. It was a philosophy and a hope and a defiance thing to that. And we kind of got it where it was Cap was
I'm
like
really
the last.
sorry, guys.
That's all right. That moment might still come. That's what I've been thinking.
Oh, you mean the Cap's moment where he walks up to Thanos and like snuff?
I think that's why I'm not disappointed yet. I think it might still come. Sorry,
I think it still might. I think me too. I'm hoping that it still happens.
I think it's not coming. I think that's what we got in this movie. I think that's what we got.
I'm not convinced yet. But I also don't want to, like, I agree, like, it didn't happen, and so that way I am a little disappointed. And if it never happens, I'll be very disappointed, to be honest. So yeah, cool. So now, movie. You're sitting down for the movie. I just want to talk about how that comic definitely informed those of us who had read it as we were going into this movie. But you're sitting down, you're watching this movie, opening scene. Whoa. How did that opening inform you about what you were now watching?
It's at this point, like even if
the MCU went dark fast, they like laid out what is happening, like what kind of movie this is going to be.
I kind of felt like damn, man, like even if I hated the Guardians, like they're having a bad day, like They like, come on, guys, you already done kicked them. Do y'all need to go? Oh man, like I thought they were all gone. I mean, they tried to put some line in there how like only half of them were dead. I don't see how that worked out, but
Well, because
but
Thanos at the time remember Thanos is going around killing the half of everybody. So I think the idea is Thanos kills half of Asgardians and then leaves the other
there was
half.
only like 30 of them left. Like,
yeah.
They already lost half and their planet. Like there was no reason to cull any more of them. So I was like,
That's kind of true.
and then Idris got stabbed, and I saw someone next to me. And there was different moments throughout the movie where people just cried, and I heard the Wire fans. They were like, Idris. like string a bell, and I was like, damn, man. It's like so that opening scene, they like, oh, we could do dark too, and they went dark, and they was like, we're gonna start, we're gonna show you what's coming. Like there is, and it was kind of a menacing because it was kind of like you're strapped to a railroad train, and the train's coming. There's nothing you can do to stop the train, but it's track, and it's just slowly coming. But it's one of the slow ones. You're only going like 20 miles an hour. But you can't stop it. It's
yeah. That's actually a good way of describing how this scene opened it up.
Yeah,
Thanos becomes the train, and now he's here. He's coming. What do you think about Hawk versus Thanos?
Oh, I thought that was pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
No, go.
I can talk now. I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I thought it was pretty awesome. I thought it was nice to see the Hawk derage, like get his ass whooped, because the Hulk has this confidence. I just also thought it was kind of late because in the scene, it looked like Thanos had already laid waste to the ship. And technically, where was the Hulk hiding this whole? It doesn't matter, but I thought the actual fight looked good, and then it looked like and then the fact that they made it look like the Hulk was winning, and then it's like, oh no, you're not winning.
Yeah. Well,
Floyd Mayweather, I'm a float like a butterfly.
I like what Anthony said earlier that it looks like Hawk hasn't hit his full power yet, because I think that's accurate. Kind of like, and we'll talk about this later, but how Thor has now reached comic book level Thor, but he didn't start at comic book level.
Not
Thor.
At all. Like he was hiding from
a lot of people are down on Hawk. I would really want to talk about this later, but a lot of people are down on Hawk. I think maybe aren't realizing. I think they're trying to give an arc to Hawk. So sorry.
Yeah, and I think also interesting about this scene. Some people criticized like, why is Thanos doing this now after 10 years? And I think they forget Odin just died. And now Thanos is like, oh, all right, coming to Asgard. Like I think people underplay how strong Odin was and how much of a deterrent. Especially in the Marvel comics, back when this is kind of taking place, there were certain deterrents around the different the Marvel comics that stopped people from doing stuff. Like most people didn't really go to Xavier's school. Like Apocalypse didn't show up on Xavier's doorstep because Xavier was there. You didn't go and mess with Asgard because Odin will mess you up. Odin in the comics beat Thanos' kids around, but bad. But you don't just go up to Asgard and think that Odin's not going to smite you. He's going to smite you. So I thought it was really cool. As for Hawk, we don't know what happened. We don't know if Thor said, "Hey, get everybody else to safety and then come back." We don't know what happened there.
Everybody, it was nobody else. Everybody was dead except he took. Valkyrie.
Well, they're saying half of them survived.
Yeah, I think Valkyrie goes with half of them. Yeah,
and the rock guy and the bug knifey guy.
They all go with half of the Asgardians.
Right. So we don't know what went on there. But it was a nice callback to be like, we have a Hawk. And again, Hawk has had like easy fights. Like he has had easy fights up until this point. And one of the things I think was a missed opportunity is that I thought actually on Sakaar, Hawk, one of the big things in the comics was Hawk learned how to fight finally. Like before, he was just a power thing. But when he was on a Gladiator, he actually learned martial arts. Like he learned how to fight. And I think they wasted that opportunity because, again, Hawk is just used to overpowering people. I mean, and people even say that Tony Stark beat Hawk. He didn't really beat him. Hawk looked around and got calmed down and got punched and got knocked out. Like that was... but again, you needed that marker for power.
Mo, what'd you think about Loki pulling out that knife?
I thought it was dumb, but I also... No, I thought it was dumb. I know he is the god of mischief or whatever, but that's very stupid, Loki. Also, it's probably a callback to when he says, the sun will shine on us again. But it almost makes him look kind of like he's redeeming himself when he's like, "Oh, I Loki of Asgard," and then he pauses and he goes Odinson. And I was like, oh, okay, you're redeeming yourself, fine, whatever. But I still thought it was dumb. But when he said the sun will
Mo
shine
doesn't
on
like redeeming stories.
no, I don't. But when he
Well,
said,
Loki's a confusing character because he's like true neutral. He's evil, but then he's not evil, but then he's evil. He's like
is he really even evil? He's just mischievous. Like
I think he's chaotic neutral, I should say. He
yes,
is very
exactly.
chaotic.
Yes. So, but when he says the sun will shine on us again, in my mind, I was like, oh yeah, you're definitely coming back after this is all said and done. You're not dead. But that's where it led to me. But the knife part was canceled.
I thought it didn't make sense for his planning. I mean, I know it didn't make sense for his planning.
Exactly.
There's a couple of things in that scene that make sense. Like all Asgardians are like super strong compared to even Captain America, right? Because Loki's not physically strong compared to other Asgardians, but Cap couldn't overpower Loki. Yet these Thanos and these other guards, and we assume Thanos didn't actually take part in this, but like just laid waste to a ship full of gods and whatnot. That didn't make much sense. But the Loki thing, I think that was a good send off to his character, unless they do the rebirth Ragnarok thing. Like I really don't want to see him come back. I don't really want to see him come back.
Yeah, so that leads into what do you guys think about the line about no resurrections this time? Because they seem to deliver that line very clearly to the audience.
Yeah, when I heard it, I was like, okay, well, this means something, right? This definitely means something. But then again, we've gotten that especially with Loki. With Loki, we've gotten him. He's died about 3 times now because he died at the end of Thor.
Yeah,
he died at the end of Thor 2. He's died. So like, I don't. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. Right? That's how that goes.
Yeah, but I think that
fool me
line
3 times. I got some stocks to sell you.
Yeah.
But I think that line had some additional weight to his death. I took that line to mean, now the ending kind of confuses us, but I took that line to mean when people die in this movie, we're not bringing them back. Now we can talk about.
I think that doesn't.
The mass
I
death
think at a certain point. I think at a certain point.
I know, but that's how I took that to mean. And honestly, that line created more weight throughout the rest of the movie. Because of that line, I thought as I was watching the movie and people were dying, they ain't coming back. So they may have fooled me. Every single character could come back and they'll just, time warp back to this never happening. But
you know what's funny? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
But if they didn't fool me, it definitely added weight. And we'll get to this, but like most of what people seem to hate about this movie is they're bringing in external things. A lot of people who have talked to me who hate this movie, they hate it because they think all of the characters, all including Loki, are going to come back. I don't think that's fair to like bring onto the movie when we don't know. We don't know.
Why not? Why not? Because that's the setup of the movie. That's the movie's fault. That's the marketing's fault, and that's the movie's fault.
Is that the movie's fault, or is that a comic book written in like 86's fault?
Can we stop using the excuse comic book logic? I'm not. You know what? Since Lucas is not here, I will echo his sentiments on this. Can we stop using the excuse comic book logic because you're not.
No, I'm saying the reason everybody thinks that everybody is coming back is because that's what happens in the comic book. But it may be unfair for us to apply what happened in the comic book as an ending as the ending for the story that they are telling in the MCU.
But unlike comic books, there's contracts that go up and actors that don't want to do this anymore. And I think this is a good way for Loki to go out, right? Because they want to get Thor away from his roots because of what happened with Ragnarok. And if you want to bring the Asgardians back, Loki comes back as a woman when that happens. So like you don't even need, Henderson or whatever to do that. I think that we know what's going to happen with the people that just ashed away, right?
Yeah.
We have guesses. No. Right? Okay. What I've noticed from people though is fans and comic book fans alike, and even myself. When I left the theater, I was like, why are my thighs sore? I didn't realize that I was like tense a lot of the time in the movie, and I've never been that way in a Marvel movie. And I don't actually think I've been that way since probably Serenity, in a movie where I didn't feel characters were safe. And then I talked to some other people who saw the theater at different places. I was like, yeah, I was sore and I was tense, and I was like, wow, this movie, at least for the mass audience and myself, did its job in making us worry about the characters we've come to love or care about or know over the last 10 years.
Right. All right. Well, let's move on. I want to move real briefly through some of the early fights. So, thoughts on the New York City fight with Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man versus Henchmen?
Thank you for calling them henchmen. I really appreciate you, because that is not my Ebony Maw, or that's not my that's not my Black Order. But
fair enough.
What I will say though is, for a brief moment, Ebony Maw versus Doctor Strange looked to be really good, and then
can you go into detail? What do you mean by that?
Okay, so in Doctor Strange, we were seeing Doctor Strange come into being the Sorcerer Supreme, and we never really saw him like. I will be pressed to say we never really saw in Doctor Strange. Did that make sense?
No, I'm with you. I think even in this movie, we never fully see like Doctor Strange as from comic books.
Thank you.
Because they don't really quite know how to deal with magic yet.
I think they don't, but this is the closest we're ever. If this is how far we're ever gonna get, this is the best we'll ever see. Because him versus Ebony Maw to me looked really good, and again, because in my opinion, the reason why Ebony Maw, they had to let go of him really early, we'll get there, but is because you can't really do his powers to a full effect.
Got
it. In my opinion.
Well, what did you think of that fight overall, though, Mo? Did you enjoy it?
I liked it. I enjoyed it. I just, again...
What about Spider-Man's part?
Spider-Man and Tony Stark, it was just chaotic. I was just... At that moment, I was just like, so what's like... In my mind, I'm like, okay, so is the Hulk going to come out? At every point in that fight, I was like, so when is the Hulk coming? When's the Hulk coming? Mm-hmm. I really didn't care too much for Spider-Man and Tony Stark. Really cared.
It's kind of interesting. I knew almost instantly that the Hawk wasn't going to show up in the rest of that movie. So a lot of other people who seem disappointed with this movie, they seem to be walking around through the movie waiting for the Hawk to show up. And because I didn't have that feeling for some reason, I just thought he's not coming out. That's why the Hulkbuster armor shows up later in the movie. He's going to be in the Hulkbuster armor. I just immediately, that was on my mind. So I didn't think he would actually come out.
But the trailer fooled a lot of people because they added that scene where
that's true, and I want to talk about that too.
Happen. So
that's right.
But I think that was brilliant. Actually, I think that was a brilliant kind of mystery.
Yeah, we should talk about that in a minute. What about the Scarlet Witch, Vision, Captain America?
Wait, can I talk about that intro fight?
Yeah.
Anthony has to speak.
The intro fight to me was one of the best examples of taking a comic book fight and putting it on screen. Because in the past, like we said before, we're used to seeing very straightforward uses of abilities. But in the comic books, they've had 60 years to figure out tricks and things you can do. The way Ebony Maw moved and how he, flew through the city with his telekinesis or whatever was great. The way people use powers was great. I also appreciate Stephen Strange more in this movie than I did his own movie, right?
Thank you.
But it made a lot of sense because one of the to me, I get that people love the whole him going through the astral plane, the different dimensions and stuff like that. I get why people love that. To me, what was the Doctor Strange moment was that he didn't overpower this massive demon at the end. He outthunk him. He outplanned him, and that was the key to me. And I remember debating with somebody is that I think that Dormammu, when he trapped him in the time sphere and was like, look, I just keep taking these deaths and until you decide to stop this, I can take it. I'm used to pain. I was like, that was a Doctor Who moment. And that's what Doctor Strange needs, right? Right. So I remember when I was talking to somebody, I was like, I think his powers got better in there because he remembered all that stuff. And they recently released something where he's like, yeah, one of the things you're going to talk about is the reason why he's so good now is that he went through that for a long time. And we didn't really go into how much he went to practicing his powers. And I was like, that is brilliant, because this was more of a use of Doctor Strange's powers than was in the movie. I'm glad they dropped all that kung fu stuff. You don't need kung fu to do magic. That was just dumb. And I get why they make it more,
but it does kind
kinetic,
of
but it didn't need to be
yes, exactly. But it does help break balance, though, if you think about it.
But I got Doctor Strange to actually use different abilities. He didn't just use like 2. And you got a sense of his even that when you go into Thor Ragnarok and you're like, whoa, when did he get this good? And it makes so much more sense that of where he's going. So I appreciate Doctor Strange more here.
Nice.
I like how they use Spider-Man. They show how powerful Spider-Man is. The problem is that they let star power make it inconsistent later on. And I'll talk about that when it comes up. But
all right.
I know
what about the Scarlet Witch, Vision, Captain America, Falcon fight? One thing I remember from that is like almost my whole theater screamed when Vision got hit at the very beginning.
Okay, so we all know Corvus Glaive, his blade can like cut through anything, right? That's supposedly his blade's power, right?
Yep. I gotta mute Anthony because he's cooking back there.
Oh, I'll mute.
You could, yeah.
Right.
I mean, I love Corvus Glaive and I love that blade, and so I'll excuse the fact that he got stabbed and he couldn't face through it. But this is Vision we're talking about. This is Scarlet we're talking about. Like both of them are literally the strongest Avengers right now.
It would have been nice if somehow the henchman, Black Maw, whatever, had shown up a little bit in other movies to build up who exactly they all were.
Exactly. Instead, we get this underpowered, like...
Didn't I say that?
Black Order. Underpowered.
Probably.
So underpowered. Anyway, so let's skip that. So the fight ends up being 2 regular humans and 1 super soldier end up beating Proxima Midnight and Corvus Glaive, and I didn't like that fight. I thought it was a waste of time.
How did they... Remind me how they got out of it, because didn't they just, like, run?
So apparently, Black Widow, of all 3 of them, stabbed Corvus Glaive with Ebony Maw's weapon. I'm sorry, Proxima Midnight's weapon.
Got it.
And yeah, they
power to pin.
And she's like, "Oh, we don't want to kill you, but we will." Like seriously, Falcon, Captain America, and Scarlet and Black Widow. If you don't get out of here when you have Scarlet Witch and Vision laying there, and this is who decides to win the fight, then get out.
Black Widow is, and this is the Hawkeye problem too. Black Widow is a consistent problem through these movies because she is an important key component to the MCU and the team. And even like, how do I put this? As a character, as like when she's acting, not fighting, she's really important to me on screen. Does that make sense? But then they also need to incorporate her into the movies while those are happening. And so that can make it tough, right?
The scene with Loki in the first Avenger movie when he's locked up and she figured out his plan, that was her strength, right? Yeah, she can handle regular people or do some like slick stuff every once in a while.
Or in Avengers 1, talking to Hawkeye.
Part of it is they definitely want to have female balance in the movie. But a lot of the female characters aren't as powerful, unfortunately. That's why Captain Marvel will be really helpful, honestly, to the universe.
Or OP, because in that moment, I feel like Black Widow was super OP. Which was
right. But I'm talking about what her real, like, say, comic book level power level is.
Yeah, her real comic book level power is.
Well, they have Scarlet Witch for that. They
do have Scarlet Witch.
Exactly.
But they don't know what to do with Scarlet Witch's powers in the movie.
No, but I thought after when we
made her Jean Grey.
Yes,
they kind of did. They kind of
definitely Jean Grey. Yeah.
Cool. All right. And then what about and I am purposely skipping some stuff. What about Star-Lord, Drax, and Gamora? Talk about what are your thoughts? First of all, Thor hitting the windshield and that kind of interplay, and then also them going after Thanos.
I loved it. That entire scene with Thor and the Guardians was awesome to me. Anytime Thor with the Guardians is to me the best parts of this movie. And I'm pretty sure you guys are going to tell me I'm kidding. And
I thought that was fantastic. I love that part of the movie. It made me almost wish that somehow Thor had shown up with them in a previous movie a little bit.
Like exactly, I feel like maybe moving forward, Chris Hemsworth
This
should
was the
be
best Thor. That was the best Thor we've ever seen.
it's no, and you know what? I'll disagree. I'll agree and disagree with you. Saying this is the best Thor is saying Chris Hemsworth didn't do a good job in Thor 1.
That's not what I
I
said.
think no, it's like saying, but this is what I think it is. I think this is the best. Like Chris, because to me and myself and my partner from Lucas and Mo versus the world, I have to plug my show. We talk about Chris Hemsworth and we say this: he's a comedic actor.
This
Granted,
is also your show.
he looks like Patrick show. You know,
he just
when
means
Patrick,
I'm hosting for once.
go,
I'm trying.
Don't,
I'm trying to
don't
host.
don't cut out Patrick's legs from under him. When Chris Hemsworth is a comedic actor, he shines best when he's comedic. Like, say what you want to say about Ghostbusters, the reboot. He was one of the better parts of that movie.
That's true.
And
He was.
So when you apply that part of him to a movie, it works, and that's why Thor Ragnarok worked, and that's why this Thor works because he can balance comedy and action. He might be the next greatest comedy action star we get.
So, what did you think about Gamora?
Can I say something about this real quick? Can I?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
So this is why I think this is the best we've gotten. Right? Thor Ragnarok, while entertaining, I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I see why it works. I see everything that goes there. They did comedy at the expense of anything heavy or weighty. So things would happen that needed some gravitas, and they would do you couldn't even feel it because it would go over with the joke. Whether it was characters we know get killed, whether
kind of like the jokes Asgard. In The Last Jedi.
Yeah, it overshadowed everything else. In this one, you saw that Chris Hemsworth was a powerful comedic force, but he was also tragic. And they did a good job of letting the comedy come through, but also letting that tragedy and the weight of the loss come through.
The difference is you felt the stakes in this movie. You did not feel the stakes of Asgard being lost quite the same way as you felt the stakes in this.
They didn't let you. They didn't let you do that like they should have.
So you're asking Taika Waititi, who's directed comedy on comedy on comedy, to direct a comedy action movie versus the Russos, who did the best Marvel movie ever.
The Russos did Community before they did Winter Soldier. So
no. But I'm saying again, hold on. I said the best Marvel movie ever, where they juggled again what Marvel does best, according to everybody else, is juggle humor and action and drama. They did that, right? So when they're handling the subject matter, again, because this movie has to have weight in it, but it has to have the Marvel comedy in it. So yes, they're better at doing this than Taika Waititi, in my opinion. Maybe Taika's next time out for the MCU, he might do better when it comes to juggling emotions and stuff.
So he needed a hard reboot, right? He needed a reboot because things weren't working. They didn't really let Thor be this cosmic god van cover, right? Those old vans you see the panels but they didn't let him do that.
He wasn't even Thor.
The van panel Thor.
Yeah, they didn't let him be that with the crazy hair and let him be cocky and like in Thor 2 they tried to make him Superman where I'm not cocky anymore. But this one,
I know you have a lot to say here, Mo and Anthony, but we're gonna move. So. We get more to Thor. I have a whole section on Thor here at the end. We can talk more about Thor then when he comes full power. So, what did you think about Gamora and Star-Lord and her telling him to kill her and then him actually pulling the trigger in the moment?
Anthony? Okay, he's eating. I knew it wasn't going to happen.
You knew he was going to pull the trigger?
No. I knew. I kind of felt he was, but I knew nothing. I knew that moment he wasn't going to get, like, the satisfaction of him killing her was never going to happen.
Has that ever happened in a movie where, like, the hero kills another hero because the first hero told them to do it? Because he pulled the trigger. He pulled the trigger.
That was how you. Oh,
that was kind of chilling though. That was kind of chilling when he did. I felt. Again, in my mind, I'm like, this, it's not going to happen. But when he did, you know what? I'll take it back. I'll walk it back. When he did pull the trigger, I was like, oh, holy shit. Like, you heard it click. But then again, it came back to me saying, oh, yeah, of course this wasn't going to happen. But I was like, thank God it didn't happen. But honestly, it would have taken Peter to a different phase if he did kill her. Also, that moment on the ship, I think should have been left alone by instead of them throwing Drax into it. I think, honestly, in my mind, I think that moment should have been left alone.
I think you're right. Actually, I agree with
That was
that.
a very personal moment. That was, that was the first time we've seen
I disagree.
that. Hold on, to me, that would have helped the scene. The next scene when they go to nowhere a lot better, in my opinion.
Go ahead, Anthony. Your turn.
Not even nowhere. Titan.
Oh, Anthony's turn. I'm gonna mute.
Okay. So let me roll back. No, because either it happens and that's the end of the movie where the person dies, or they can't do it because we're gonna find another way in love. And the fact that she pulled the trigger out of love in a way, that was great. Also, we got a Tony Soprano type of moment where I like him. He got Mopsy. Like it was, it was a good thing.
It was dark.
Yeah,
he was
dark,
basically pulling the trigger on his own wife.
But Thanos' reaction to it was like, you're asking too much of him. He can't do it. And then when he pulled the trigger, Thanos was like, I like him. Like, you're worthy to date my daughter. I'm not gonna kill you, probably. That was a good moment. Also the moment where she thought she killed Thanos and then cried about it, like that was so great. This is the best Gamora's been, because of the love-hate relationship. Again, I like how they didn't beat us over the head. We saw the other Guardian movies, and so they just went straight to like Gamora and Star-Lord in a relationship now. Like, you know it. You don't need to see when it, their first kiss or anything. Like, we just know it. That happened in between these movies, and it flowed. The Drax thing was needed because it just fits to their theme, and you got to realize that they're pulling in these different styles in the one movie. And I believe I read that James Gunn actually wrote all the dialogue for all these scenes with the Guardians. And I feel that because you got to bring those.
That's really smart if they did that.
Huh?
That's really smart if they did that.
Yeah. So, and they got to bring these people into this. And on that tiny little ship, this isn't the Enterprise, that tiny little ship, there was one of the things that Gunn had said before was that they've gotten on their nerves in the last couple of years since you last saw them, like, because they're all over top of each other. So I'm pretty sure they've been chilling in bed, and Drax has been sitting here eating snacks or whatever. And so again, that was pretty much what Drax is there for. I mean, Drax could have been used for more than what he was used for, but
absolutely,
I thought it fit in the theme. You can see that scene happening in a Guardians movie.
But this is not a Guardian. Whatever. Anyway, can we change Drax from Drax the Destroyer to Drax the Comedian or Drax the Joker? Like, no, I'm never calling him Drax the Destroyer ever again.
Sorry. All right, so moving on to Thanos. That is what I want to talk about for a little bit. Let's talk about all things Thanos, because really, not necessarily the hero, but the protagonist in some ways of this movie is the villain. I would argue that as you are watching this movie, I believe that some part of you was even rooting for Thanos to gather all the Infinity Gems.
Thanos is the protagonist, with Thor being the lead antagonist and the rest of the MCU.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
So, what did you think about that? What do you think about Thanos' motive? Because they really change it. There's no like Lady Death he's trying to impress, that kind of stuff. What do you think about his motive? What did you think about kind of filling out Gamora's full story? What did you think about Nebula? And everything up until the Soul Stone moment, and then we'll talk about the Soul Stone moment itself individually. But what did you think about Thanos as a character in this movie and kind of them building him out?
Anthony
Mo.
Yes. So Thanos in this movie, man, this is the part where I'm going to I feel like his motivations to bring balance to the universe was just so like whatever. Like, so once you do it, what else? What's the next move for you now? Like, so it's
apparently it's living on a farm and watching sunsets.
Exactly. Like, you should have given him more. You should have. I mean, again, this is a villain you've built up for 6 years since the Avengers. I'm not gonna say 10 because you've only built him up since Avengers 1. Or since maybe Thor. This is why, in my opinion, Thor is the most important piece of the MCU. So you've built this guy up since whenever you've built him up, and all of a sudden you give him to us, and his motivation is to bring balance to the universe, and when he's done, go look at a sunset. Yeah, no. I needed more from that. Thanos' action scenes, however, fantastic. I see where all the money for the budget went to. It went to Thanos looking good because the rest of the Black Order looked like Captain Crunch. But Thanos was the most important part of this movie, so I think everything went to Thanos. And Josh Brolin voicing Thanos, he did a good job. But yo, Thanos did get washed a couple times in the movie. Though he Iron Man was able to draw blood from him. Captain America, stood his ground against him. Took a punch from him directly and didn't even bleed. What else? Like the team of Doctor Strange on Titan. The team on Titan was able to wrestle him down to his knees. Come on,
We'll get to those fights in a moment. But you didn't like this Thanos. You would prefer more comic book Thanos.
I would prefer my Thanos. I want to wreck shit because I'm trying to. There's more to why I'm wrecking house. I don't just want because again, if you follow this movie motivation, he might as well be a good guy because hey, what I'm trying to do is make sure everyone has a mouth to eat or has enough to eat. So I kill half of the universe. That means the other half has more than they would have had.
All Magneto's trying to do is stop a second genocide.
And is Magneto wrong though? Is Magneto wrong? Let's be real.
Is Killmonger wrong? Magneto. No, there's no people.
But the way. Okay,
go ahead. I didn't say anything like that. I didn't say anything like that.
Could be wrong.
What I am saying is that most people who disagree with you morally or in a philosophical type of manner don't believe they're the evil guy. They believe you're the evil guy, right? They believe that what they're doing is right. Adolf Hitler didn't wake up in the morning and go, you know what? I'm an evil son of a bee, right?
Right.
It didn't work that way. And if people do feel that way, they say that generally, it's generally because they're tired of being the victim of something. So what you had was a sociopath who experienced a trauma that he probably blames himself for. And then he
doesn't blame himself for. He blames the rest of Titans.
No, he blames it because he could have stopped it. He, in his mind, listen. According to the story we heard, he knew how to save everybody, and then he let them stop him from doing what he needed to do. And then he decided, I'm not gonna, no matter what the pain is, I'm gonna do what I think is best for the universe because I know the ultimate good. I don't want to experience this trauma again. Same reason why he did.
Quick question.
Oh, go ahead.
Quick question to you. So isn't that like the story of Jor-El and Krypton?
Yes.
Where he knew what was gonna happen. He warned them. So he said, "Fuck you," and instead of him saying, "You know what," he let us, So
let's say he lives. Let's say he lives, and Earth does the same thing. And he's like, "No, I'm not going to watch another civilization go. I'm going to take over your government, and I'm going to save you." So again, this is a philosophy. This is our different mindset. I don't really believe in good and evil people per se. I think people go out to meet needs, and they gave a really good reason for how he responded to trauma. Now you could talk about the logistics of it, and maybe there was a better plan, but to me, this was the best version of Thanos. Because if not, you'd have got a cartoon Darkseid that was showing up. And
I agree. I thought this Thanos was a much more interesting character, honestly, than in a lot of the ways he's been portrayed in the comics. In the comics, a lot of times he's actually just the big bad, right? Like the villain, for everybody to have to fight against.
Are you picking sides or are you hosting? Because I feel like you're picking sides.
Picking sides?
It's okay. You can pick a side.
I'm picking sides. I thought that this Thanos was a very good Thanos, and I like this Thanos. I think that honestly, if we had Thanos trying to impress Lady Death, I'm not sure that the MCU audience would have been able to go for that.
I think, come on now. This is the same audience that said, this is the same audience that, according to Anthony, that said Thor Ragnarok was the best Marvel movie to come out last year. They would definitely eat it up.
Did I say that? But Hela actually fell flat. Like, no one praised her as the best Marvel villain. Why?
What? How many reviews did you see? Like
You
everyone is
saw
like,
them praising her as the best Marvel villain?
yes. I no, not the best, but near the best. Because again, the Marvel villains are
Who got
only.
praised more, her or Killmonger?
I mean, obviously, because Killmonger was praised more by woke
Who would
black
get
people.
praised more, her or Loki?
They said she was on par with Loki, and you know what? After this,
Who? Okay, well,
I'll forward you those
all
reviews.
right.
Like that's all.
I mean, I'm just saying that I found this
I thought it
Thanos
was
very
perfect.
compelling, and that compellingness is what allowed me. So I would compare it to this. There was a really I remember watching the commentary for Gargoyles. Remember Gargoyles? Remember that show? I love Gargoyles. Love
Yes,
Gargoyles.
I love it.
And I remember that the producers of Gargoyles had to convince Disney to allow them to do that series that was about Macbeth and about what's the blue bad guy? Desmona. Remember, there's a whole like 5-part series that's about those two characters,
Well, she
right?
wasn't a bad guy in our
Exactly. And the producers said that it was very hard to convince Disney to tell a 5-part story about villains and to make villains compelling characters. That like it took them a lot of like Disney was like, I don't know about this. And I love that arc. Like love that arc. And this movie made me feel the same way I felt about that arc. I obviously don't want Thanos to wipe out half the world's population. And yet there was a part of me that if Thanos had not gotten the last Infinity Gem at the end of this movie would have felt incomplete. Like that the movie did not bring me where I wanted to go, basically. And that is a powerful thing to find yourself rooting for the wrong side in a movie. And so I never felt that way reading Infinity Gauntlet. Reading Infinity Gauntlet, at no point was I like, I hope Thanos wins. Like, I definitely did not feel that way. And so that's why I found this more compelling.
So you see, the difference is I actually wanted him to win. I didn't hope he won. I wanted him to win because I wanted him to beat the crap out of everybody. That's my own opinion. I wanted Thanos to have his power just smacking people down like backhands left and right. I am still mad. Again, we go to Wakanda. I will tell you why I'm mad because there's no way with Captain America with 5 Infinity Stones in the gauntlet should stand up to. You know what?
Let's talk about that in a minute. So that brings us to wait. Okay, go ahead real quick.
Thank you. Host your show. Okay. Host your show.
So you have Thanos, who is a multi-tiered character. It's the kind of the thing of die the hero or live long enough to become.
What's going on right here?
What?
You dropped your voice and you started talking with you and Ben.
I'm trying to talk like Thor. So
okay.
So
that's what we call pillow talk.
So it's like
one man.
Die the hero or live long enough to become the villain, right? I'm sure Thanos was a champion of a hero on his planet. I'm sure Mao from Firefly was a stand-up guy until he was Han Solo that actually lost a rebellion. Like, those traumas change you. And for me, I appreciate the complexity of it because if not, we just got another Steppenwolf. Somebody that's really powerful, that does what he wants because he wants to do it. And
and wasn't doing what he
Sorry, go ahead.
Doing it for Dark Side and for Apocalypse. Let's go back.
I let y'all go. Let me finish.
All right. No, I won't let you any other movies here. That's what I want to do.
So it gave a dimension to his character. And that was needed to move the movie forward when you actually felt for him. When he cried, you were like, dang. Because
that's where I wanted to go. So the next thing I want to talk about, let's talk about the Soul Stone moment. So first of all, there's two things to talk about. Red Skull appearing, and then the actual requirement of like what had to be done with the Soul Stone, what happened to Gamora, how that impacted Thanos. And so what are your guys' thoughts on that entire moment? Because that is, if Thanos' story is being told in this movie, that's like the peak of his arc in a lot of ways.
Mo, go ahead.
It's very short. It's the only part of Thanos I didn't care for.
It was too short for you, so you felt that scene needed to be longer?
I just felt like maybe the build up to the scene could have used a lot more work. Like it just it's like oh okay, so you have to kill her, fine. Again, maybe the whole slow mo thing, just and the music. I was like, yeah, I'm not feeling this. Just throw her off if you're gonna throw her off. And again, somebody has said, I'm not gonna say
Mo
anybody's
is
names, but
cold, man. He's like,
we
you are cold. Just throw her off.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. We've seen Gamora jump from heights. I'm not sure who said this, but a friend of ours
You stole my
has
point,
said
Mo. You
this.
stole
We've
my
seen.
point. Now we at war.
Yeah, there we
Now
go. There
we
we
at
go.
war.
There we go. There we go. There we go. Just in case you weren't gonna say it because you love this movie, I just had to say it for you. But no, Anthony's point. We've seen Gamora do feats that leap from heights that is about where she fell from. So unless Thanos and he didn't fling her down. He just dropped her like almost like a Black Panther off the ledge, off the waterfall kind of drop. Like, okay, is she really dead? Plus, she's in the sequel. She's in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, so she's not dead. Anyways, but so again, what kills a lot of the quote unquote emotional moments in this movie for me is the fact that most of the people who died have sequels announced.
All right, we'll talk about that. So it fell flat for you, Mo.
Yes.
How about
yes.
you, Anthony?
Okay, so Mo did take one of my gripes about this scene.
But you're gonna leave the scene regardless, so that's I should.
So and Mo also doesn't really understand what's biasing me and what's me just analyzing a scene, but it's okay. So what I liked about the scene was that I called Red Skull coming back, and everyone was like, no, and everyone was like,
so you predicted. So you predicted a part of this movie? Are you trying to say the movie was predictable to you?
Yeah, there's certain parts that were predictable to me.
Okay,
but there were parts that weren't. But there was parts that I thought we had the argument before the movie came out, and I was like, I think he should come back in this part, but I guess that Hugo Weaving or whatever didn't want to come back. Yeah. But then I hear this wasn't even him. That wasn't even him.
Yeah, it was the guy from The Walking Dead or something like that.
So good on Marvel not letting an actor dictate their story. So I thought the scene was really great. I thought it was really good for a father. It reminded me kind of like Abraham and Isaac in a way. For sacrifice for the
my book of Bible stories.
Yeah, so I thought it was really great. I thought it was a really deep cut, and again, I thought that they actually did the research to trust these characters to know the Soul Stone was the one with an actual will or an actual condition. So I thought that was really good. I thought it was also good to see like the Red Skull in kind of a purgatory thing, and have this character who never could possess the Soul Stone because he could never love anybody, and he missed his chance to love anybody else outside himself. When Thanos turned around to her and was crying, I know some people have said they've taken him out of the movie, but to me, that's when he was sold to me as one of the greatest villains we've seen.
Took me so out of it.
I think that sold.
It put me in the movie. So
I think that sold me as him being one of the greatest. I want to say villains, even though in this movie he's the protagonist. I want to say that put him in that tier of the Heath Ledger Jokers, and put him in the tier of the Hannibal Lecters. Because he wasn't just
that was like to me that's that moment in Spider-Man 2 when Doc Ock's wife is killed.
Yes, because at that moment you could have just made him a cackling power hungry, I'm gonna do what I want villain, but the fact that he was willing to sacrifice the one thing he loved, even if it was a dysfunctional love, right? Even that scene with Gamora,
and he keeps talking about it the rest of the movie. The rest of the movie keeps talking about the cost. You know he's talking about Gamora.
Right. And even that scene, the scene before that, when he was torturing his other daughter, but he was talking to Gamora, and he was like, Gamora said something like, everything I hate about myself comes from you. And he was like, you're strong. That's me. You're generous. That's me. But the one thing you're not is a good liar, because I never taught you that. And I was like, dang, it's such a great, loving, dysfunctional
liar, and he just never told it to her.
I don't think he's ever needed to lie.
No,
but
okay.
I don't think he's ever needed to lie, and I think if anything, he might have lied to himself at certain points, but I'm not even sure he's done that. But that was those two moments with her, and even the one where he was like, I wondered if you would still love me. You know, I thought I knew in my heart to hearts, but you never know. And I was like, that's what's important to him in this situation. It was like I said, we could have had the traditional villain that was just like, I'm powerful, I'm evil, and this is what I want because that's what I want. Or we could have had a character that had some depth, that was able to sacrifice like a hero would. And I just got more. I got more of a picture of that he is, because remember, hero doesn't mean that you're morally good. Hero doesn't mean that. Hero means a person that does great deeds, right? Puts himself in the line or risks stuff, right? That's not, and you can't say that Thanos doesn't have that. I just think he's a hero that's lost everything. He's like the Hawk stories, with the Hawk's the last thing alive on Earth. You know what I mean? Like, it was really powerful. Like I said, my biggest thing that took me out of the movie was, again, in a lot of scenes, even with Thor, is the inconsistency of power. So we've seen Gamora jump down to the heart of a planet, fine, and you attest that to super strength. Actually, when people would talk about Drax and Gamora almost being cartoony and the stuff they survived, I was like, well, they're super strong aliens. That's what they do. In this one, for her just to die because she was tossed off, not even tossed, kind of tossed, I guess, but more like meh, off a cliff.
Yeah, it was like a little throw. It wasn't a toss.
And I feel like
maybe the Soul Stone took her.
Maybe. Right. I mean, but people were trying to say the Hawk got beat because Thanos.
Maybe the key wasn't her actually dying. The key was him making the sacrifice, and then the Soul Stone did the rest. I don't know.
And that could be. I needed to, but you know what?
Yeah.
Like I said, the prequels took me explaining shit out of
out
of me.
Fair enough. All right, so we gotta move. So let's get to the Titan plan. Okay, that's what I'm calling it. And we gotta move pretty quick through this, but I know you guys have a lot of thoughts on this. So there's some key things I want to hit hard on this. The plan of the team on Titan. So number one, Doctor Strange does this time warp thing and figures out there is one way to win and everything else is going to fail. What do you think about him using the time stone like that? What do you think about that being this thing now hanging over the movie from that point forward that Doctor Strange has seen a way to win?
Oh, okay. I think it was a cheat code because early in this same movie, Doctor Strange says to Stark, if it comes between you and the kid and the stone, I will always the stone. And then he gets a moment where he could cheat real quick, figure out
Anthony.
Yeah,
making those numbers.
Oh, sorry.
It comes to a point where he can cheat to win because Anthony didn't want me to talk, so he kept trying to interrupt me. Anthony is my antagonist, just so you know. Second,
I am.
He's many people's antagonist.
When he said that,
but I think I'm right. So.
Yeah. When he said that line earlier in the movie, I knew there was no way he wasn't gonna give up the stone. I just wanted to know how he was gonna do it, and then when I saw that, I was like, "Oh yeah, this is he's definitely gonna give up the stone," and then he's gonna say something like this. This is what I said.
So I think
that
him doing this is key. I think it's essential, and here's why. Because people like you, Mo, if he didn't do this, would be like, how come he didn't just use the Infinity Stone? He had the Time Stone. He could have just looked to see how to win, and then he could have won. I guarantee if he did not, in that voice, I guarantee if he did not use the Time Stone at some point, people on the internet would be angry. They'd be like, he had the time stone the whole time. He didn't even use it. He could have used his full power to...
People are still saying that.
So the best way to use the time stone was to look into the future to see how to win and not actually try to...
Absolutely.
No, because then you're the same people who explained to me the best way for him to beat Dormammu was to outthink him. Like, come on, man.
I love that fight with Dormammu. That was amazing. I love the way he defeats him at the end.
This is dumb because this is not who Doctor Strange is. This is why I've said we've never seen. This is not really.
What is Doctor Strange to you? So this is exactly what Doctor Strange is to me.
So this is Doctor Stephen Strange, right? This is exactly who he is. This is exactly what he does all the time.
Yes. What?
Right.
No,
uses weird voodoo magic stuff to fix stuff? Absolutely. That is exactly what he does all the time.
He'll outthink six-dimensional demon gods that want to burrow their way into our consciousness from another dimension, and he will outthink them. That's what he's doing. all the time. That's what he's doing right now.
So what was the purpose of the line? If it comes to you, the kid, and the stone, I will pick this. What was the purpose of that? What's the purpose of the whole? No. What's the purpose of the Sancto Sanctorum or whatever? What's the purpose of the whole order? If at the end of the day, you're sworn to protect the stone, but at the end of the day,
because he looks into the future and he sees two things. I guarantee he knew he was going to have to lose the stone.
That line was
when he gets to Titan before he does the time look, the time peak, whatever you want to call it. He knew probably at that moment, eventually the stone is going. Like eventually Thanos is going to get this. I better use it in some way to win. And then he uses it in a way that like every fan would be like, if I had the time stone, I would totally just look in the future. That's exactly what he did.
I think Mo, you're our Drax in some situations.
Why was
you're our Drax?
Why was that? No, I don't. You can call me what you want to call me. The question to you right now is, why was that? Why put that line in the movie? Because at the end of the day, you're telegraphing.
Because he didn't know yet. He thought at that time that the best way to defeat Thanos was to hang on to the stone.
Wait.
In the future, he knows there's a better way.
Wait,
Patrick,
there's also internal.
Hold on, Patrick. You just said, as before they got to Titan, he knew at some point he was going to give up the stone. He was going to lose the stone. So if you knew that,
I'm saying he was guessing at that point. He was guessing at that point that Thanos is going to come, kill them all, and take the stone.
Your comic book logic in me, but go ahead.
No, that's what you just said. You hate that term,
but that's what you guys are doing.
No,
to me. Your comic book logic in me.
So
the reason for that line was comic book logic, because at the end of the day, again. That's a very.
I don't understand at all why you're upset at that line.
So because he's taking it literally as
what that line does is no, I'm not taking the what it does. What that line does, it telegraphs the whole movie. It telegraphs the rest of the movie, because at the end of the day, you know for a fact when someone says, if it comes to you or you, I'm definitely going to choose this, right? And you know when it
that's really important, because then when he chooses Tony over it, you know that he has seen this future where that's the only way to win. They established throughout the movie that Strange does not care about Tony at all.
Can I talk yet?
Strange takes that sudden moment.
But you see, the thing is,
yeah. All right, let's let Anthony get in here, because let's let Anthony talk.
So I think what Mo is saying is that it says, look, we need somebody to wear a dress. Like in the Thor mythos, I need somebody to wear this dress to go to this banquet to change the person. I'm not going to wear a dress. You're going to wear this dress. I'm not going to wear a dress. You're going to wear this dress. I'm not going to wear this dress. I'm in a dress. Like, so I'm guessing that's what Mo thinks is telegraphed. Am I right? Just yes or no? Am I right about this?
Yes.
Okay.
Because exactly what happens right there as soon as he says.
So I get that.
You knew.
But Mo, so I get that you're like, oh, well, this telegraph what was going to happen, that he's going to give up the stone. But I think there was other levels to this, right? So one was an internal conflict, right, where Doctor Strange doesn't want to sacrifice Tony or a kid to save the stone, but he believes the stone is the most important thing. But saying you're going to do something to sacrifice it and sacrificing to sacrifice it is two different things. But you also have the added layer of he went through 1 million plus realities, and only one was the actual answer where they actually win, right? And I'm guessing that in that one, it was giving up the stone. I'm guessing that's why he said, I think what he said at the end before he disappeared was like, this is how it had to be, or this was the only way, or something like that.
Yeah, he says this is how it had to happen. And so he saw that the only way to win was to give up the stone. Any other reality, he loses. Like I talked about on the cast yesterday with Sam, some people are like, why didn't Doctor Strange just cut off Thanos' arm and they lose the gauntlet? Well, because in the reality where they cut off Thanos' arm and he loses the gauntlet, Thanos wins.
Yeah.
You know that for sure?
Yes.
I do. Yeah, that's the whole point of Doctor Strange doing that.
Because in 1 million plus realities, they saw one victory, right? So in my mind, he saw what was going to happen. He saw 1 million times over. Listen, Mo. Listen.
I'm listening.
He saw 1 million times over that Peter Quill learns Gamora dies and loses his crap. Like he loses it. right? He saw a million times over. He saw a million times over that Peter Quill was going to lose his shit when he found out Gamora was going to die or died, right? He saw that a million times over. So in my mind, he saw a million times that they're going to almost get the glove off, or how many times they almost get the glove off, and then this speech happens,
14,
and then it all falls apart, right? So, but the one where he actually gives it up to save Tony, who's probably going to be instrumental in whatever the resolution is of this, that is the one that he wins. Or it might even not be Tony. It could be oh crap, Nebula, because in the comics, Nebula is the one that actually reverses a lot of this crap. So in the million plus theories, this is the one that actually works out for them, and they set that up so brilliantly. They set it up brilliantly.
I totally agree. I think it's amazing, and they also like that establishes why he can't tell anybody, and they telegraph that because they really telegraph that Doctor Strange does not care for Tony like at all. Like I did not get any kind of personal. So then for him,
there was no bonding moment.
There was no bonding between them, and so then when he sacrifices, you're like, what is he doing? Why would he do that? That's like super out of character. And it's because it is out of character, but it is the one version of reality where in the end they are able to defeat Thanos.
And we know that Tony doesn't, we know that Doctor Strange doesn't care about dying in a time loop. Like we know he can deal with that. So he went through these different realities, which I thought is something we actually hadn't seen the stone do, but makes sense that it can do.
So that's why you're saying he didn't suffer any residual effects from the 14 million things he saw because of his movie, right?
Wait,
I don't think he lived through those 14 million things. No, I think he just like watched.
What I'm saying is he didn't go through like, because any other person would have like a breakdown, like a mental breakdown at that point.
But he died a million plus times in like
he's Doctor Strange.
Right? That's what I'm saying. So because of his movie, he was able to.
Mo, he's seen some shit.
Why are you not listening to me? So what I'm saying to you is,
Mo, take some breaths.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Because of what happened at the end of Doctor Strange versus Dormammu, he is okay with what he is seeing in this movie, is what I'm saying. So that's why he didn't suffer any residual effects of those 14 million scenarios.
That'd be my guess. When you look at
I don't think it would give him any more effects than you watch in television. I don't think it would give him any effects.
Well, I disagree with that. I mean, I think there would be trauma, but we got to remember this. Like Mo was saying, he died.
I just don't think he lived through that. Like he did in Doctor Strange, the movie. I don't think he lived through those scenarios. I think he was just like looking. And he probably fast forward to the end.
What I am saying is that I think we're all in agreement on this part. I think that he died so many times, and the writers have said we don't even understand how long that loop went on. That he's dealt with some shit. Like he's dealt with it. So seeing if you're right, and he just was watching a television program where all these people die in the universe, and after a while you're desensitized to it. Like, all right, let's try. Right. 1,000,002. Let's see what happens.
So maybe after 1,000,001, he's like super desensitized. Like I can see that.
So I think that they have set up brilliantly how this all works out. To me, that they worked out great with me. So this is the best version of Doctor Strange.
In Avengers 3, they just set up
4.
So this movie, no, I'm saying in Avengers 3, Infinity War, what we just saw was nothing but a setup movie to the Avengers winning.
I would say this specific scene is the setup for the next movie.
This whole movie.
I disagree, but I really think that scene is what is the tie-in for the next movie. I do think this movie stands alone in a way that I know you don't agree. I think it stands alone quite well, but I do think that the Doctor Strange looking at the infinite possibilities and that whole part of him sacrificing for Tony is the key. That is the link to the next movie. I think we'll see. But we got to move on. And I know Anthony's really angry about Iron Man's armor, and I don't want to skip that. And I'm a little bit angry. I'm going to put my one little asterisk before Anthony adds his asterisk. I know a lot of people are angry about Star-Lord not going for the gauntlet, and I was also angry. I did not like that part, but I actually blame Chris Pratt because I feel like Chris Pratt did not properly convey how out of control he was in that moment. It seemed like he was still very aware of them trying to get that gauntlet off, and I think I needed him to be a little bit more like almost hawked out, like just really upset about Gamora's death to the point that he just, and I just felt like Chris Pratt, for me personally, he was not able to convey that in that moment. And so that's why that moment kind of felt flat for me.
The Chris Pratt Thor stuff was good, but the Chris Pratt, like, I didn't agree with Chris Pratt holding Spider-Man hostage. I don't see how that works. Spider-Man looks like a...
But we're not there. We're talking about Chris Pratt.
Listen, but I get it. So what I'm saying is that there was things in this that I'm not sure what star power affected and what it didn't. And then you took Chris Pratt. So Chris Pratt manhandled Spider-Man for some reason. But then Chris Pratt comes at the end and you're like, well, I'm not gonna say that he did the Gamora thing with the bubbles. That was pretty good. But like we saw when he goes under a rage when he was triggered when his dad talked about putting that tumor in his mom's head.
Yeah,
like we saw that scene, and I'm not sure whether it was build up of Chris Pratt, but I did not get the sense. It was really flat the way that was delivered to me. Like it didn't.
I agree.
It wasn't conveyed very well to me in that.
And so that's why I think you as an audience spend the whole time being like, just grab the stupid gauntlet. Why are you? Because we didn't have a sense of him break. He needed to break. I needed to see him break in that moment, and he didn't break.
And we saw that in the last Guardians movie.
Absolutely, we did.
So can I chime in for a second?
Yeah.
You say,
and then we get to Iron Man.
Anthony, what did you say it was, or whose fault do you think it was?
I don't know whose fault it was. I don't know whether it was direction.
It could have been writing. It could have been acting.
I don't know
whatever it was.
Star power. I don't know whether because he wasn't. I don't know whether
I think it was writing. I personally think it was just lazy writing because that it was so cheap. Like according to Patrick, right? It just felt like it wasn't real. It just felt like he wasn't there. So
I think he could have acted. I think an actor could have acted that scene in such a way that I would have found it more believable.
But this is a movie where he's not the star, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's why it couldn't be conveyed or what.
Going back to Guardians, when according to Anthony's point, when he found out what his dad Ego did to his mom, he lost it. You saw rage, right?
Totally agree.
You saw him act. I think this just wasn't, this again, maybe it could have been a direct direction because again, this is not his
it's up to the director to tell an actor, hey, you're not quite pulling this off yet. So that could be it.
Yeah, that could have been it. When they call cut and they call the scene, the director could have went back and in the monitor and said, hey man, you're not giving it to the end.
So we got to move. Iron Man armor.
Okay, so
I got into a big fight on Facebook about this too.
Iron Man from Wakanda right now. At this point, he might as well be from Wakanda, or he might as well have had Doctor Strange bolster his armor. I hated it.
That would have made more sense because all right, and this is the problem they did in the comics too. This really lost me a lot in the comics, where they just make Tony Stark's technology magic at this point. Oh, I'm fighting Magneto. Well, I draw the magnetism from all the planets in the solar system. What, Tony? Or Spider-Man, where's my suit? Now I have spider sense. Wait, what? So he says nanites, right? So what we saw in the logical progression of the MCU technology, Tony Stark does not have a nanites on that level. We just saw Wakanda
next level nanites.
And they have a special material that they can do this with to condense I forget the term for it, but when it's when they reduce the mass of molecules and then expand them real quick. We just saw that Wakanda, right?
Yeah, he needed to either show that he had gotten some Ant-Man technology or, like you said, if Doctor Strange had enchanted, I think that would have been cool because I feel like they didn't really show a lot of magic in this movie, just lots of spinning discs and stuff. So if you see Doctor Strange enchanting armor, that adds to that team up feel, and also it just adds another thing that Doctor Strange can do with magic.
Right. Or if it was if he got some of that Thor hammer metal, that's Oru or whatever it's called, or some Wakanda technology, something. But I feel like they just wanted to make they just couldn't help themselves, right? And then they're nanites, and they're nanites, and I was like, well, nanites don't work like that without you. So
nanites can't grow in mass.
No, unless you're eating stuff in the environment. And I remember the suitcase suit in Iron Man 2, right? Was great. It was a compact suit, but you realized it couldn't do everything the other suits could do.
Yeah. It couldn't take the damage. Yes, it could.
Or fly, I don't think. And so if you have a nanite suit, then there should have some limitations. But
everything.
And was growing inside and had foam in it and all this other and rockets and stuff.
Anthony, so can you remember how you said star power? with Chris Pratt. Who's the star of this movie? Just based off what you said.
I am sure. I mean, Samuel Jackson even said at one point, like, we don't get to pick what we do. I mean, unless you're Robert Downey Jr. He didn't mean it as a shade, but he just said it as a fact. And I think that Marvel, I hope that Robert Downey Jr. realizes this too. But I think Marvel needs to realize you don't need his star power anymore to sell these movies. And
says who?
Says me. They don't need him.
Says Guardians. Says
and I love Robert Downey Jr. But
oh my gosh, then you guys are in the wrong.
What's the best Marvel movie?
Look, it's Civil War.
What's the highest grossing Marvel movie?
I don't remember Robert Downey Jr. showing up in Black Panther.
Not at all.
Oh, but can I tell you something though? Did anyone care about what happened in Wakanda or happened to Black Panther in this movie?
Yes.
Not a lot.
Yes. Oh my gosh. We'll get to that. Well, that's a perfect segue, actually. So let's segue into Wakanda.
But Iron Man armor shouldn't be magic. That's my only point.
It's dumb. I agree. It's dumb. So going to Wakanda. First of all, what do you think about the plot of saving Vision? Like this idea that we're gonna and Captain America's whole thing of like we don't leave anybody behind. What did you think about the return to Wakanda? I know we were just there for Black Panther, but I don't know. And
it was also playing in the movie next to us. It was playing in the theater actually next to us.
Oh, it's awesome. So what did you think about this plan? No Thanos yet, just the plan in general, and then we'll get to the actual fight.
Did I go first last time or did Mo go first?
Go ahead, Mo. Go.
I thought the plan was stupid. Again, a lot of the plans in this movie just were dumb. Like they were just basic and stupid and didn't feel like nothing was what's the word I'm looking for? Can anyone help me out here?
Ingenious?
There was no ingenuity to any of the plans.
Ingenuity.
Yeah.
Yes, got it.
There was nothing.
So you hated the plan.
Anytime someone made a plan, I felt like it wasn't going to work. Like, I shouldn't feel like that. I shouldn't feel like this isn't going to work. I should feel like
Thor's plan worked.
It did.
Well, with the exception of Thor. And
right.
that. Everything with Thor, like I said, everything with Thor was perfection.
Anthony, what do you think about the plan?
So I'm going to put my comic book bias in this a little bit, so I'm going to understand it. And
you're going to comic book logic
bias on comic book. So
you're going to comic book logic this. We're talking about a movie.
I'm not talking about comic book logic mode. Hold on, before you talk.
This is a comic book podcast, so please go comic book logic out.
Okay. So in the comics, Wakanda's never been conquered. The Skrulls came and did the secret invasion stuff, and there were lines of Skrull heads on the Wakandan border. Wakanda is the most technologically advanced country in the Marvel universe, right? In the Marvel, on the Earth and Marvel world.
Yes.
If you want to protect something from a cosmic threat, are you going to go to Kansas? Are you going to go to Washington? No, you're going to go to Wakanda. Like when Bucky looked up and says, "I love this place," like no other place had a big dome shield with camouflage and futuristic weapons,
but I will ask
of tanks. Hold on, Mo. Hold on.
Okay.
So, the plan of taking Vision to Wakanda makes perfect sense to me. If I wanted to hide something in DC cinematic universe, it would have been I'm gonna take him to Themyscira. I'm gonna take it to an island that nobody can find or whatever. Like that made sense to me. What didn't make sense to me was they've made Black Panther really PC, and Black Panther should have had a little bit of. He should need a little bit of convincing to be like, "You want to bring what into my country?"
I agree.
Like, I mean, I like y'all and all, but I mean, I kept this other white guy, but I don't know about
that. Starbucks.
Starbucks. So, and I think they're missing an opportunity to make Black Panther. T'Challa doesn't have to be right or righteous all the or even PC all the time, right?
So what you're saying is. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
He can be. He should be like Namor, like Doom, like all the other royalty in the Marvel universe is like, all right, how does this affect my people first?
He should have a little bit more nationalism to him. He did because he was just coming around with like some embassies at the end of Black Panther. So
and
like,
apparently they still didn't tell him they got all this stuff.
He is definitely still a nationalist for Wakanda,
right? And so that part of that was without some convincing or some dealing or something like that. Like I don't think that should have happened the way it did. I thought that it was cool that they did the throwbacks to what just happened to Wakanda. I again just think some of the power level stuff was kind of out of whack.
So fight itself.
I didn't like the Siri thing of like, why didn't you just do this? Because we didn't think about it. I'm sure you did your best. Don't force her being. I know Kevin Feige has said that she's the most.
Yes. I'm sorry. I'm with you on that. They're trying too hard now. There's like they're doing the most with her. Like, get it. We get it. She's smart.
Right. You don't have to try to show up.
Bruce Banner.
You're right. I don't need that. Like, just show what she can do and move forward.
Don't
because apparently Tony Stark came up with nanotechnology before y'all. So
exactly, that can shift in mass and weight. So fuck your Black Panther.
You made a cloth suit.
Yes, he got smacked. Okay. Ooh, did we talk about Tony Stark not dying? Oh no, or are we gonna get to that?
That was a good fake out. That's really all I got to say about that. That was a good fake out and good dialogue.
Oh, that was a piece of shit scene, but it's whatever.
Really?
Anyways,
you didn't like the I hope that I admire you, Tony Stark, which hinted some
when
mystery?
Again, what you did was set it up, give us great dialogue. I agree with you. When I'm done with the universe, only half of them will be left. I hope they remember you. I love all of that. Like, it was cold and chilling. Oh, I love scenes like that. Remember, Patrick said I'm cold. You stabbed him through his gut to the back.
Actually, to the side.
No.
So he probably needs a kidney transplant.
Okay. He has nanites. He doesn't need a kidney transplant.
Yeah, that was some bull. But Tony Stark has magic now.
That's true. He has magic.
First of all, I don't know if anyone. So I'm guessing nobody has ever been stabbed. I've never been stabbed, but I know I have doctor.
I haven't been stabbed. I've been slashed.
I was about to say Anthony's got some scars.
Okay, I have doctor friends who I immediately after the movie ended, before I developed an opinion on that scene, I asked, "Hey, if you stab somebody and he goes through, through and through, what are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to pull it, or are you supposed to wait till you get to the hospital and have them?
No, you leave it in.
Yes.
We gotta move.
You were saying the fights in Wakanda?
Yeah, so fight scene in Wakanda, Venom dog monsters, because they looked a lot like Venom to me.
Better than the Sony Venom.
Yeah, they just ground war fight reactions. The fact that the Hawk wasn't able to perform, just the general power level of the heroes. All the girls teaming up against the girl. What do you think about all of this?
I'm so mad about the henchmen. I'm like, if anything, I'm gonna keep calling them the henchmen. I will never use the Black Order for them because of this movie. The Black Order is never gonna happen again for me. The henchmen, I am so mad about them because again,
I can understand that. If you love the Black Order or whatever, I understand. I would be disappointed by these guys.
There's no way. I
don't really care about them as villains, but if you love them, I'm really sorry.
So I don't have a lot of.
Oh, go ahead.
So for you don't care. I do.
Yeah,
I feel like you could have made a whole movie about the Black Order handling the Avengers.
But if Doom had shown up in this movie and been treated the way they were treated, I would be pissed because I love Doom. So
I said for a while that I thought the Black Order should have been showing up in other movies and establishing what they were. And I also think they were dispatched and killed. Marvel has a weird way of killing villains for no apparent reason.
No,
not no apparent reason, but it was a
stupid way of killing. Yes, because Ebony Maw, who again can sense things happening, behind him before they happen, should have known. Should have never been blown out into again. But you notice in that scene, he got blown out into space. Doctor Strange was out in space too, but hey,
he didn't watch enough movies, man.
Yeah, I think also when you have Black Widow take out this character, and then you need 3 people to take out this character in a giant wheel. Power levels are just so inconsistent.
That's been a big problem, I think, with every MCU movie. Though.
Me too.
I don't think there's an MCU movie where that does not show up in some capacity.
And I don't think they realize how. So Thor got beat by Thanos pretty handily, right? But then we see Thanos apparently get stabbed in the neck and die. But I don't think if I stabbed Hawk in the neck, he would die. But then we see Thor channel the power of a sun through his body and then jumpstart a planet with his strength.
No, not even.
I think it's because I would argue the reason they're able to pull that kind of stuff off is movie logic. Because in movies, that kind of stuff happens all the time.
Right.
Whereas in comics, we're always we have collector's cards with ratings and power levels and Wikipedia articles and do you know what I mean? But in movies, it's like, you know, you go back to like action movies and stuff like that. Like people get shot and then they just keep on fighting, and then they take out a bunch of like hardcore assassins, and then those assassins turn out like it's just kind of movie logic a lot of times where power level is inconsistent, and you have movie directors who are, you know, using these comic characters.
So things I loved about the Wakanda fight scene, though, I love seeing Cap and Black Panther run at the dome, and they like broke away from the pack. I like that. I like that Black Panther was faster than Cap. I assume Cap is stronger than Black Panther, but I think that Black Panther being faster than Cap made sense, like a little smidge faster.
Yeah, because you know he's a cat.
Yeah, I love the logic of the dome of letting these Zerg in through like funneling them through the front gate versus like letting them surround your base.
Yeah, that was actually tactically very logical. I thought that was really cool.
I loved Thor. Like I felt the hero moment. Probably the first time with Thor, I felt the hero moment of Thor showing up and like the joy of like, yes, Thor's here. Like you guys are in trouble type of thing.
And you know why? You want to know why? Because they gave you the Avengers theme song for the first time in the movie at that moment.
Oh, that's a good pickup if that's what it was. I'm gonna see it for the second time tomorrow morning. But like
when you do, listen out for right there when Thor drops. You listen.
And before this, Thor with getting the hammer and everything. Good for you guys. We can't talk long about it, but
people talk about Peter like that. Some people said that scene didn't fell flat with Peter Dinklage or whatever. But like I thought it was great.
I had a problem with that scene only because there were punk kids sitting behind me mocking Peter Dinklage through the whole time, which I like wanted to turn around and punch some kids because I was like, listen,
this theater was all reactionary when I saw it. I mean, and it was silent right afterwards. But let me finish my list of things I like about the fight. So Thor showing up, great. Thor, Rocket, and Groot showing up together, awesome. And then I like again that they didn't try to. We know these characters. We don't need a bunch of. We know that Rocket loves prosthetic limbs for some reason. So when Rocket hands Thor an eye, you're like, I don't need to know where it came from. I just assumed he took this from somebody. When he's like, looking at Winter Soldier, like, how much for the gun? Okay, how much for the arm? And he looks and walks away. He's like, I'm gonna get that arm. I assume Rocket's gonna get that arm.
No, he's not. Because he's dead.
I love the teamwork. They said a lot of the Caps team didn't get a lot of depth, but I mean, we know who they are.
Their depth was in other movies in a lot of ways,
right? Seeing Falcon tell Bruce Banner like, "Oh, we kneel, he's a king," and then be like, "How, dude?" Like
again, I mean, I really argue that Thanos is the protagonist of the movie, so that's why he gets the depth.
It's about him, and we know these other characters. When they do little things, we don't need to explain it because we know their personalities. And so, you know, I think that the fight in the jungle with Thanos actually showed up and it changed the battlefield again.
So let's go to that. And then Thanos arrives and he just walks to victory. What do you guys think about that whole part?
I didn't say what I liked about Wakanda, but it's okay though.
It's all right. We got to move, so we'll just go to Thanos.
So I'll go with this one. So when Thanos came in, and because Anthony you had that section, so I have this section.
Yeah, well, I've given y'all lots of sections. I mean, go ahead.
Because you were cooking and eating. So that
what were we not done? What were we not? There like 3 other people in this cast. All right, sorry, go on.
All right, so in that moment when Thanos comes in my opinion, you know, when Cap says everyone on me, you know, protect Vision, and when Thanos comes in and I was a little suspicious, you know, to me, because before Thanos came in, they had to set the mood. They had to like wind and, you know, it was quiet. I was like, wait a minute. So why is this happening? Because Thanos literally shows up everywhere in this movie. He, you know, there's never like a setup to Thanos coming in. It's just like straight up portal opens, Thanos walks out, Thanos does what he does, portal opens, Thanos dips back. So I'm like, okay, so okay, fine, whatever. They're going to set this up because they have to make this, you know, entrance perfect. Thanos walking in, and I'm like, please, everybody that walks up to Thanos, please should catch hands. Like, nobody should stand up to Thanos. I don't care if you showed in the trailer that Captain America held him. I think that should have been a trailer fake out, but you know, whatever, it doesn't matter. You know, because again,
I really remember Cap going up against Thanos differently. I don't remember him holding his own for more than a swing or two.
I think people don't realize that Thanos wasn't trying a lot. No, it'd be like if you put your hand up to a 5-year-old and you don't actually just smush him.
I don't care. I don't care.
Because he kind of knows. He has the time stone. He's like, I can walk in slow-mo if I want.
I don't care. Did you see what he did to Black Panther as soon as Black Panther walked up? He smacked him so hard with the backup. He pimp smacked him. He put the powder on the backhand,
which is a little bit weird because Black Panther's suit's supposed to like absorb that energy, right?
They showed it did something weird with this energy bubble. So
No,
I don't know what that was.
It bubbled up and phased right back in. The energy pulled a Hulk. It got scared.
Hawk,
we'll get to Hawk here in a second. All right,
my man getting L'd.
So,
well, let's do it now. So, what do you guys think about Hawk and his?
Great thing
but there's a gripe in that scene.
As a great movie. When Vision was gone and he rubbed, he like stroked Scarlet Witch's hair.
I've done something, or I've lost some.
A lesser movie would have had him snap her neck or something like that.
No. I like that moment though. I like that moment though. That was.
That's what I'm saying. A lesser movie would have had her kill her, like have him stroke her head and then snap her neck or something like that.
Yeah.
The fact that he was like, "I get your pain, child," and went
just
back and just reversed time on Vision was such a hardcore moment.
So we got 10 minutes, so we got to move. Okay. So I want to talk about Hawk.
Hold on, I'm sorry. The one gripe I do have,
and then
that moment right quick was how come Captain America didn't bleed after he took that punch? That's it.
I don't know, because it's rated PG-13. Yeah. Okay. I think that's basically why. It's PG-13.
He's purple up his
so I'm sorry that he didn't bleed for you. Maybe in the extended cut that's rated R, he's gonna be pretty bloodied up. Or in the Deadpool version of the movie.
I hate that movie, by the way. But go ahead. So you said let's talk about Hulk.
All right, so what did you guys think about Hawk never showing up, and also the fact that there was a trailer fake out that he did show up? What do you guys think about that whole thing?
My Hulk would never. That's what I'm saying. My Hulk would never not show up to a fight. That's all I'm saying. I get what you want to go. He was psyched out because he had never gotten humbled so bad. He got humbled so bad that he was like, nah, I'm not, that guy right there is actually better, bigger and badder than me. I thought I was the biggest, baddest thing walking, and he got humbled. But at some point, they should have said, you know what? Yes, I got humbled. Yes, I got beat up, but no, I am the motherfucking biggest, baddest thing in the world, and I would do my thing. That's what my Hulk would do, not what Rafa Hulk did. End of story.
So I think that what I kept looking for and thinking I was going to get was an internal monologue with Hawk and Bruce Banner. I kept looking for that, but that's also my bias for knowing the character so long. So I thought I was going to get it inside Bruce Banner's mind.
Is that why people hate an Ang Lee movie, though? Is that?
I actually think the best thing about Ang Lee was when he like reached to the mirror. Like, I thought that was one of the best scenes. The reason why people didn't like the Ang Lee movie is because it was like a flashback within a memory within a dream at one point.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah, but so I thought I was gonna get that.
The giant dogs.
I know people are gonna dog Hawk out for like the next year, but he's gonna come back. Like he's gonna. I'll be right.
And it's gonna feel that much more. Like you'll feel that much more excited about it because you went a whole year waiting for it.
But he has to come back. He has to come back. Like
of course he'll come back.
And I think the feeling you're feeling right now is what they want you to feel. I think that's what they want you to feel.
It's what you would have. I agree. I think it's what. So I think this makes a lot of sense for Hawk. I know you're saying not my Hawk. I'm saying that the Hawk that you say is your Hawk is a Hawk that has 50 years of comic books behind him. And I've read a lot of Hawk comic books. And
I'll show kids in the morning days.
What I'm trying to say is the key to Hawk is really that he is a giant 6-year-old bully, right? No, he is, because his dad beat him. His dad's a drunk. His dad's a white trash drunk. Beats the crap, but not a scientist like in the movie. Beats the crap out of him every day, right? He watches his mom get beat like every day by his dad,
and then killed.
And he snaps. He has that split personality. There's those Hawk comic books that go back to like when he's a kid and he's getting bullied and he just rages out on those kids and he's angry and he's a bully. And that bully never gets beat until he faces Maestro. And when Hawk faces Maestro, very similar things happen to what happened in this movie. Very similar things. He loses his sense of like, I don't know if I can take it anymore. I think I've been beat.
Because he's vulnerable again.
Because he's vulnerable again. So this Hawk, it makes a lot of sense to me that I mean, I saw it happen. Anthony probably saw it happen. You probably seen it happen, Mo, when the biggest kid on the playground takes a punch to the face and starts bleeding. He acts a little bit different after that.
Yeah.
Takes a little bit of time to regain that self-confidence. And I think that's what's going on right here with the Hawk. I think it's going to mature him. And thus far, I don't think we've really seen the Hawk get more powerful based on anger. I think that's been a problem.
And think about Ronda Rousey. Think about Ronda Rousey.
Yes, we have.
Who dominated MMA on the women's side. And the minute she took that L, her
No, I'm saying I don't think we've seen like true power level Hawk yet.
We haven't.
And I think that you're going to get the Hawk that you want, the Hawk that you're so excited to have. But instead of just giving it to you at the opening of This Is the Hawk, you're going to have a character progression with that character that's interesting and informs it and makes it exciting.
And I wouldn't be surprised if we also got a moment where, because we're also seeing a tame Hawk. We're seeing a Hawk that's learned to work together with people. Who's in Thor Ragnarok, Hawk wasn't really mad. Like he wasn't really.
No, I agree.
Like, enraged.
It was almost playful,
right? And in there's a scene in the Onslaught saga.
Why do you guys keep saying everything except Incredible Hulk? The second movie of the MCU. Why do you guys keep talking about everything except that movie?
Well, if you listen, Mo,
that movie's amazing, but I'll be honest, I love that movie. I think that movie's great, but it doesn't quite feel like it fits in the MCU.
Are you kidding? Because
I think we're having two situations here, but like my prediction for Hawk is that I hope that there's a scene in Onslaught where
that's what I mean. That Hawk doesn't feel like he exists in these movies since then. That's my opinion. He hasn't. I haven't seen that Hawk since that movie, which is why that movie doesn't. It's the most half MCU, not MCU movie for me.
We saw him briefly in Avengers on a helicarrier, but he hasn't been that way since.
I agree with that. I agree with that in the helicarrier.
And so I think that what I would like to see, which I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't do, there's a scene in the Onslaught saga where Hawk goes to Jean Grey and goes, "I need you to turn off Banner." Like he I need you to turn me off and just let the Hawk go because we can't beat Onslaught like this. I think that we know that the Scarlet Witch can do that from what we saw when in Age of Ultron. I think that'd be a hell of a callback if Banner
and I felt like there were some Onslaught callbacks in this movie.
Yeah, and I think if we saw that, I think that would make me very happy. But either way, we're gonna get a Hawk, like an enraged, like I think we're gonna get the Hawk you're talking about.
I agree. I think you'll get him.
We'll see.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I needed to just say that, but
no, it's okay because I mean, again, because you guys are saying we've never gotten a Hulk that's angry, and I get what you're saying now. Hold on, I get what you're saying now because if you are saying the Hulk movie doesn't feel like it's a part of this universe, then maybe you forgot about what you saw in that movie.
Yeah, and it might be just that because Edward Norton doesn't carry on that character, it doesn't quite feel like it's the same character.
Because in that
and
movie,
even the Hawk doesn't quite feel like it's the same Hawk. So it kind of feels more like the way that the other Spider-Man movies like don't quite like I don't know how to explain it. It never felt to me. I'm always surprised to remember that that's an MCU movie and not a pre-MCU movie.
I would say that we just haven't gotten a raged Hawk since the helicarrier. And
I agree with that. Helicarrier Hawk is pretty on par.
And that we haven't gotten them. They've never used the line after that original Hawk movie.
Because he's scary in that. Like he is.
He's a monster. He's a monster, and we haven't gotten Monster Hawk in a while. And I think that we haven't.
They bring Devil Hawk out.
Right, that'd be something. But they also haven't used the line "the madder Hawk gets, the stronger Hawk gets" since that original Hawk movie. Right? They haven't used that since then. And I think
but you saw it in the Incredible Hulk, though.
That's what I'm saying. We haven't seen that Hawk or that level of rage. And I think that we've seen a tame Hawk, and
I strongly agree that Hawk is more the real Hawk. I strongly agree with you, Mo. But that is actually the problem I'm trying to explain.
I agree. That's the version of the Hawk that the most looking for, because we've seen different versions of the Hawk.
Never in the MCU, I've never gotten the Hawk, in my opinion, and you guys have said just about as much.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I think you will. I think they're trying to build a character, just like you never got true Thor until this movie. I think you will get true Hulk.
But the thing is, Thor has been a part of this universe just as much more than the Hulk has been. The Hulk is usually just Avengers and Thor.
Yeah, the Hulk barely got his own movie.
Hulk's only been in.
I wouldn't be surprised if that movie was being worked on before they knew MCU was even a thing they were doing.
And the Hulk's only been in. The Hulk has had less appearances than almost everybody except for Hawkeye.
They had the post credit scene in that movie.
I know, but they could have been working. I'm saying they started working on that movie. I would be surprised if they started working on that movie before they even knew MCU was a thing.
Wait, I know. I want to go back and look at that movie and look at the beginning of it. Then we'll know. But anyways, what's the last scene? I just want.
So, all right. Well, the next thing we want to talk about is what I called Ash to Ash. So Thanos finally. So Thor shows up. He does not take off his head. I thought that was a good line. I thought Thanos was a good line. Should have gone for the head. He snaps his fingers. He seems to destroy the Infinity Gauntlet in snapping his fingers. And then we start watching people die.
Thing about like, what did you do? What did you do? Oh my gosh, he's so great in this movie.
Can I ask you a question? So Stormbringer or Stormbreaker? Which is it? Bringer or Breaker?
I don't know. I'm not a Thor fan.
I thought it was
a Hawk Iron Man fan.
Let me look up Beta Ray.
I hate Stormbreaker.
It's Beta Ray Bill's hammer. I thought it was Stormbreaker.
The only Thor I liked was Ultimate's Thor. Because he was crazy.
Which they took a lot.
Yes.
Yep.
Stormbreaker is the strongest weapon ever. Is that what we're saying? Or is it the strongest weapon in the MCU, or is it the strongest weapon in Marvel Universe?
I have no idea.
I think the Infinity Gauntlet's the strongest weapon in the MCU
So let me ask you a question, because in the MCU, the Stormbreaker splits a blast from the Stormbreaker from the Gauntlet. All 6 stones at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying.
But Thor knew that. That's why they established that it can do that, basically, because that's why Thor is trying to build it.
All right. So that's the strongest weapon then, not the Infinity Gauntlet. So
I don't know. Infinity Gauntlet might be able to erase Stormbreaker forever existing. Thanos just didn't have enough time to react to that.
Right. And they pretty much gave Thor's hammer from the comics. Like Thor's original hammer in the MCU didn't have all the powers that it should have had, and they've kind of given those powers to Stormbreaker.
Which I think is cool. So, I think that's cool.
I think it's cool too.
Because you can't have Beta Ray Bill.
And I even love the Groot handle thing. I love it. I think it's cool.
That was a cool moment. But again, my point is, which is the stronger weapon? Because it took a blast from all 6 stones.
I don't know. I don't think I actually care. I don't know. Is it okay to just not care which is stronger?
Care about stuff that happens in your movies that you love.
Like, I mean, if it's World War II and you have a tank and I have a sock sticky bomb, and my sock sticky bomb disrupts your tank tread for a moment or whatever, it doesn't mean my sock sticky bomb.
It doesn't mean is the at or the like little bomb that Luke throws in the at more powerful. I don't know. Like I don't care. Whatever.
No. Because again, you said
everybody dies. That's what I want to talk about. Everybody dies.
Everybody.
He snapped his fingers.
Point.
People are at.
You said.
You understand? We have like 4 minutes left.
No, this is gonna be really quick. Anthony, you said, hey, they make a point to make Thor go get this weapon because it's the only weapon that can stand against it. So this
I didn't say anything like that, but
I said that Thor went to get it made because he thought the only way he could get a weapon that could stand up against Thanos was that. Made by dwarves. It was made by Peter Dinklage.
So it was made by giant dwarves. So a weapon that powerful, you don't care. That's all I'm trying to ask.
I can't. I care. I just don't care as much about that moment in the movie as I care about the next moment in the movie that we need to talk about in like 2 minutes.
But
I'm assuming Thor. I'm assuming Odin's spear could do the same thing. I'm assuming.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. What I want to talk about is a bunch of people all died because it turned to ash, and you want to talk about which weapon is more powerful.
Because again, this is your universe. You should care about these things. Anyway.
All right. Well, this is the Earth2 ComicCast podcast.
One with the
having you guys. Hopefully we can do a part 2 that talks about the future.
Patrick, don't Frank Sinatra him. Don't Frank Sinatra him.
No, I think so. Everybody with a sequel dies. There you go, your heartstrings. Tug on your heartstrings because they're all coming back in their next.
Mo, make your point. Make your point. Make your
no,
point.
I've done. I made my point. Patrick doesn't care about the quote unquote
Mo.
It's not that I don't care. If I had 30 minutes,
gosh.
I'd be happy to talk about Stormbreaker.
But you could have done it in 2 minutes, like I was trying to make.
All right, we'll do it now. Do it now. 2 minutes.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Gosh.
You don't care. We're moving on. Everyone with the sequel dies. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming. Right?
Okay. Well, I think that I really do have to go. So I think we should. I think we have literally used up our time. So I think we're going to have to do a part 2. Which could both be talking about the very end of this movie and also a look forward to what we think is going to happen in the next movie.
So who's going to snap? Who's going to snap?
What do you mean snap?
The universe is over.
Yeah.
Half of you turn to ash.
You know you have to end this podcast on a snap, right?
I will end it on a snap, but the first thing I want to say is I really appreciate you guys. I know I think we got into some good fights, but I think good fights are entertaining to other people, so that's great. And I'm excited for the fight ahead because I think we have some big fights ahead. Tune in for part 2 of this where we talk about Ashes to Ashes, everybody getting killed. And what that means for
Ashes to Ashes, who contract is up.
Yeah, about Peter's death, about how Thanos is just living on a farm now, living the good life. About Captain Marvel and the call to Captain Marvel, and then also just if you really want to hear our general highs and lows for the movie, how do we feel about it? I want to talk a little bit about how the trailers don't necessarily match with the movie and what that means not only for this movie but for movies going forward. And then especially I want to hear, you guys can start working on, what do you think is going to be the plot? I want to hear your 4-scene synopsis of what you think the next movie is going to be. So I'll be really curious to hear all that. And then we can also maybe bring in Lucas and he can talk to us about box office because I was hoping he would really shed business light in on the movie.
Men lie, women lie, but numbers don't lie.
I'm really upset at Lucas right now.
And then we're gonna end the next podcast with this. This is sure to bring everybody back. We're going to talk about comparisons between this movie and Star Wars and this movie and specifically The Last Jedi. So if you want to hear the conversation that I see turned off on a lot of Facebook, like you can't talk about that. You can't talk about that. We're going to talk about it. So
not the hawk out on them. Not the hawk out on them.
All right.
And
cool.
Smash.
And I'm going to snap right now. Is that snap? Is it snapping? All right.
It's not loud. It's not loud enough.
Oh, that's it.
I don't want to go.